Oh man. Yeah. I I've been through a lot in my 27, 28 year journey, and I'm super grateful for it. I used to look at it from a victim mindset. Now I look at it as a victor mindset and a way of conquering things, like a true king, as I like to call myself, and others have actually called me as well. And to be honest, like going through cancer at the age of 7 was one of the hardest things from a physical journey.
Welcome to Inspiration Contagion, where we spread inspiration one story at a time. I am your host, Holly Jean Jackson. Each interview spotlights transformational business leaders, their stories, challenges, and advice for how you too can lead yourself and others through inspiration. Learn how you too can achieve peak performance, build more revenue, and lead the legacy you were meant to lead. Welcome back to episode 99. We're almost at 100 episodes. Still can't believe it. By the way, if you've been a fan for a while, stay tuned. We have some really cool things for episode 100. But without further ado, we have a great guest for episode 99. We have Cooper Harrison, who is a master healer and creator of heroes. He's a Reiki master, best-selling author, artist, musician, and creative of all sorts. He's also a cancer survivor and a childhood bully survivor. So with that, welcome, Cooper.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here, and I just appreciate getting to know you over the past few months, and just getting to be connected with your group and your soul in general. So thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, thanks, Cooper. Yeah, that we're very intentional with who we bring onto our podcast, to our audience, like to get to know them, what they're about. So I really appreciate your kind words. But with that, we're going to dive right into some really juicy questions. I want to ask you, what makes you an inspirational leader, or what would you say is your secret sauce?
The secret sauce to being Coop, being Coop it's unique. Some people have called me a zest for life. Some have called me a Christ embodiment, a Jesus embodiment. Some have, just called me a kid at heart. Some have called me a heart of a lion, a king, an angel, like just many different names. And I think what embodies that the most is my ability just to empathize with others and feel what they're feeling, and to hold space accordingly for those people, because you never know what someone's going through. But for some reason, I just have this ability to connect with a stranger right away and understand them right away and just listen to them, and then know how to respond. Because that's part of the thing, is like some people want different responses from you when they're just talking to you. Sometimes people want you to help them problem solve, and then some people just want to vent to you and you listen. So it's my ability to pick up on that and then empathize with that, not trying to relate to you necessarily, but being able just to hear you and then just hold space for you. And I think that's what makes me just unique. And I don't know if that's a learned trait. I think sometimes you're just born with it. And I think another thing too is courage, not being afraid to put myself out there, because I was for a long time. And I think being bullied kind of did that to me for a while as a kid. It made me play small. And now that I've really grown into my own, healed myself through therapy and mushrooms and like different psychedelics, and just being able to be out in the world more, has given me the opportunity to put myself out there and to be seen and to be heard and to get great feedback. And honestly, the intention of just spreading love is something that everyone can get behind. I think a lot of people just have a lot of respect for that. So I think that's kind of what the secret sauce is to being Coop. Like I said, it's different, it's unique, but definitely a controlled chaos of my life. I got a lot of things going on. I do a lot of different things. I see a lot of different people, but I always make time for myself, others, and a little bit of fun and a little bit of seriousness. So having that confidence as well to fully believe in yourself is another trick of the trade, I should say.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's interesting that you bring up this unique ability to empathize with others. And truly, our world has never needed to feel seen and heard more than, coming out of COVID and feeling the isolation, feeling the loneliness. I was just on a call with another business partner earlier, and we were talking through this and how communities are thriving more than ever because people just really want to be seen and heard. And kind of a personal share, over the weekend, I was out with this guy I'm dating, and we were listening to some live music, and we both ran to the bathroom before we went to leave. And he comes out of the bathroom, and I'm in like this embrace with this woman I don't know, just giving her a hug, and she's crying. And we walk back to the car, and he's like, what just happened? You got like really friendly really fast with this person. Well, she was crying, and like she was alone, nobody was with her, and I was just like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Is there something I can do for you? And it was Mother's Day. It was on Sunday, and she had just lost her mom 2 years ago. And she was falling apart, and she was trying not to fall apart in front of her daughter. And I was like, do you need a hug right now? And she's like, that would be great. So I gave her like this long, like grounding hug. And I was like, are you feeling any better? And she's like, thank you so much. I just needed a hug. And I'm like, I'm here for you. So yes, the world needs our empathy. We need to feel heard, we need to feel seen. And I love that you said spreading love is an intention we can all get behind. That's the world I want to live in. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and another thing too, the balance of feminine and masculine energy is something so crucial to me. And that's something I've really honed in on the past couple of years. And, I think you display that very well as a business owner, but then also like you talk about being an empath. I think what separates me from other men, not to say that I'm, more superior or anything, but I think what separates me right now is my ability to come off very masculine and very strong-willed, confident, but not aggressive and angry. And like a lot of these masculine traits that are being spread that are kind of toxic right now to society. I have the ability to be softer with people when necessary. That is a more feminine nature for me. Um, but I've honed in on that and I've been able to master that. And that's why I think men and women both are comfortable being able to not just even work with me, but just to talk to me and just open up to me and be vulnerable with me. Because vulnerability, I would say, is the hardest thing men can grasp. Men have a tough time being vulnerable, partly from society's expectations and just kind of like trends and like all those things. Me being vulnerable is what I do best. It's what I love to do. I love to tell people my vulnerable sides too, honestly, maybe show some inspiration. So I think having the ability to be vulnerable around someone, which is something that you display, it sounds like, is very awesome and very unique.
yeah, yeah. And man, let's talk about that for a second before we hop into our next question. Vulnerability is not just hard for men, it's also really hard for humanity.
Yeah.
And in particular, I find it's very difficult for business owners and speakers. But here's the thing, y'all. When we are vulnerable and we share these raw, authentic human experiences that are emotional and they're not comfortable to share for all of us, that's where the magic happens. Vulnerability is how you grow deeper in relationship. It's how you show your prospective client, gosh, Holly's not perfect. She's not intimidating to reach out to. And when we don't offer that and we have kind of that corporate structure of wearing a specific mask and coming across kind of rigid and like you have it all together, which I'm still unlearning from coming from the corporate world, it does not work. So, y'all, if you're listening to this, lean into some vulnerability, take some lessons from Coop, take some of that magic and see what happens with your audience. And on that note, I want to ask you, Coop, next, what does inspiration mean to you today?
Oh man, it's so, people think it's so simple, but that's such a deep question in the most beautiful way, because inspiration is such a subjective term. Like it's such a subjective term to discuss because everyone has different motives in this world. Not that anything is right or wrong necessarily, but the motives change for people. So I guess what inspiration means to me is having the ability to ignite the fire in someone's soul and in their magnetic energetic field to radiate into other people's magnetic energetic field. So not only do you have this, I call it aura. That's kind of like the new trendy word to talk about someone with charisma. I call it aura. It's you have this ability to bring aura into a room, talk with people, and then you inspire people to better themselves and then upgrade their aura or their energetic field, and then they bring it to their friends or family, and then they get, upgraded aura, energetic field, and then it spreads like wildfire. Just like just like wildfire, just like any sort of like, even like a sickness or anything where it spreads to other cells. Like we as humans can radiate light for other people, radiate good energy for other people, and then it can spread through the people that you have interacted with. And that's what I think inspiration is on a soul level.
I love that because y'all know, I'm all about the high vibes. And I love how you mentioned it spreads like wildfire or like a contagion, because guess what? We're on Inspiration Contagion.
Exactly.
And that was intentionally named because we need to spread inspiration and getting people and souls into their calling, their purpose, their superpower in what they're meant to do to heal this very crazy, broken world that we live in. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. We're going to talk about some peak performance things. I want to ask you, how do you define peak performance today, and how did you arrive at this definition?
So when you ask about peak performance, is that more of, I guess, like a three-dimensional like concept, like physically, like in like your realm, like you can see? Is that what you're kind of asking me?
I am asking you to define peak performance however feels intuitively correct to you, because boy, the answers we get for both inspiration and peak performance are extremely different based on each of our guests. So whatever is coming to you based on peak performance today is how you should answer.
Wow. I really love these questions. They are so layered. Peak performance.
Yep.
So to just divert a little bit, I played football in college and, had a lot of success in high school and was an athlete and just was big on my physical like performance. So like peak performance, if I answered that a long time ago, was all about hitting numbers, hitting metrics, hitting, different stats. And then getting into college, part of it was grades. And then, when you get out of college, part of it's like, money, salary, position, like, corporate world stuff, like how far can you go up, and then transitioning into business, the metric of peak performance was like, how much revenue do you make a month? So if I answer this now, I would say peak performance to me looks like holistically, what is your happiness? How happy are you as a person internally? Because externally you can have all these happy things, but are you internally sound? So what does that look like? That looks like healthy relationships and friendships, doing something you love. It can be a job or it can be a business that you started. Whatever works for you. It can be a 9 to 5. It doesn't have to be a 9 to 5. It looks different. But like, do you love what you do? Do you love where you live? Do you love, what you do on the weekends or what you do in your off time? Do you love how you look? Do you love how you sound? Because I talk about love a lot, so peak performance is, what is your self-love? And people can tell how much you love yourself by how you just conduct yourself every day, every second, and how you interact with others.
I love that. It's not like a correct or incorrect answer, but the folks that we intentionally invite on to the podcast understand that this is a very nuanced, holistic approach because, like you said, we can have those external things like the salary, the yacht, the 2 places to live, all of the things that society tells us success is. I believe that it's how we personally define it. And that changes as we grow and as we clarify what we want to do next and as we go after the legacy we're meant to build. And so you're right. I love the specifics that you shared of healthy relationships and the nuance of loving yourself deeply, which this is, by the way, y'all, it's an ongoing romance. You have to sit there and work on new layers of self-love, new layers of integration at the soul, emotional, spiritual, physical levels to really show up as the best version of yourself. So that was beautiful. Now, I know that on the journey to peak performance today and how you're defining this currently, there were some challenges and obstacles. So, would you share with our audience a few challenges and obstacles you faced along your way of peak performance?
Oh man, yeah. I've been through a lot in my 27, 28-year journey, and I'm super grateful for it. I used to look at it from a victim mindset. Now I look at it as a victor mindset and a way of conquering things, like a true king, as I like to call myself, and others have actually called me as well. And to be honest, like going through cancer at the age of 7 was one of the hardest things from a physical journey. I mean, it was tough mentally and emotionally and spiritually, but from a physical part, like that was the hardest thing I've ever done. That's why playing football, like everyone talks about, concussions, injuries, gladiator sport, like all these things. Like, sure, it was definitely tough on my body, but going through chemotherapy for 2.5 years was definitely the hardest thing, and it definitely gave me the confidence now to know that physically, I know I can always be unstoppable in some sort of way. Like allergies, sickness, nothing can, not even a headache can get me down. I always feel like I can keep going, but I do know how to rest as well, and find beauty in that balance, being able to get adequate sleep, eat well, all those things. So cancer kind of, helped me with that. And then getting to being bullied, I think it gave me a gratitude towards real friends that have been there for me, and also being there for myself, and also being a better friend for others. And I say that in a way of, it's funny because when I'm with like friends or close ones or loved ones, they would know this. Like I'll say like, I'm here, like it's okay, I'm here. And it's probably weird for someone to visualize this, because it's like, okay, like, yeah, he's saying he's physically present, like, what's he trying to get at? The thing is, though, when I was struggling, when I was alone, when I was near death physically with cancer, people were there for me, sure, but when I was being bullied and nobody was there, like, that was also a near death experience, because I wanted to take my own life at that point. So wanting to take my own life and nobody being there for me as a child really made me want to be there for people even more, and to hold those people even more. So that's why, like I say, I'm here. It's okay, and I'll hold those people, like physically hold those people, and just be that embrace. So that's what being bullied as a child really taught me. And then when I got to, well, football was different, because it took a lot of stress on me to try to balance so many different things, a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms and all that. But I think it just kind of gave me gratitude towards being able to find healthy balance now with my life and stress and all these things going on. So then my dating life took a turn about 2 years ago, because I broke off an abusive relationship that I was on the receiving end of, from a physical perspective and an emotional perspective, being cheated on, and like fist fights with like my partner throwing hands with me. Like it was definitely one of those things where I could have let scar me and my dating experiences, or like my dating life, but I chose not to do that, because I looked inward and thought, why is this manifesting into my reality? Like, why do I attract these types of people? And so it made me go super deep on family traumas, friend traumas, being bullied and like those sorts of things. That breakup made me go deep into that therapeutic state, with psychedelics, with EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization. I always forget the R part. I think it's repetition. And yeah, it forced me to heal on a soul level. And it forced me to dig deep and uncover 20 years of pain that now I've been able to let go and find peace within myself and bliss within myself and spread that with others. So I think those events leading up to today is what makes the soul that I have. And like I said, I'm grateful for all those experiences in their own unique way.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for being so open and vulnerable. You also have a lot of wisdom to share from the experiences you've had, even as a younger quote unquote soul. If you guys believe in also multiple lives, who knows? We could both be I'm a very old soul.
Yeah, same.
So I kind of
Same.
figured. But man, there's a lot to unpack there. When it comes to, in particular, it seems like dating has come up a lot with clients and lots of folks that I've worked with and networked with. And I recently had a friend say, Holly, you're so brave putting yourself back out there. And sure, you could look at it that way. The way I look at all of our experiences, dating, everything that happens, all of the traumas that happen, they're really opportunities for us to grow, like you just said. They're opportunities for us to reflect on, why is this pattern happening to me consistently? And to pause and say, gosh, I don't like that. And there's actually an interesting book that I read, I think a year ago. It's called Existential Kink. It's not about sex, y'all. It's about our shadow work.
Yes.
And it is powerful. It talks about how we are in denial of the fact that we actually get off on our shadows. And those are like those patterns that we don't like. It's the yuck, it's the trauma, it's the subconscious stuff and the limiting beliefs that we actually have. And that's why we keep attracting these specific patterns, experiences, those moments of deja vu that are not positive. And so if you guys are feeling that, or you're experiencing similar challenges to what Coop just shared, I would encourage you to check that book out, to kind of sit with, what is this doing for me? Experiences don't happen to us. They happen for us. And I know that's really hard to hear, especially even if you're in an abusive relationship. But I actually just had a very deep conversation on this, being somebody who also was in a very abusive marriage. And you learn so much from that when you do the work. You learn a lot about empowerment and love, and you're part of how it got there. Not that you asked for it, but there are things we can let go of in the shadow side of our spirit and who we are subconsciously that allow us to never end up in those circumstances again. So I know that was like kind of a very deep response there, but we went really deep, you guys. That's what you're here for. We don't ask the easy questions. We go really deep. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit and ask you, I think you're a smaller size company from what I recall, but how do you, or how will you create a culture of peak performance in your organization, Coop?
Yeah. So yeah, organization is very small. Consists of, I guess, really two people, because I really I rely on a couple of partnerships. Actually, I would say three people. I kind of rely on myself, like creating content at the moment, and then scaling that, using artificial intelligence and maybe other, facets of business. And, we have so much technology in the world, so it's like kind of easy to outsource, stuff. So, but my business partnerships right now, so I have a collective group that I run for entrepreneurs trying to, create an abundance in their life and tap in their spiritual purpose and align with their soul. So I do more of the spiritual work in the group. And I have a business partner, Jacob, who does a lot of the content creation stuff, like social media teaching, and also investing in those sorts of things as well. Investing in yourself and then investing in different markets. So, and then I have another partnership that I'm waiting on with a friend, where she does like yoga classes and meditation groups and healing circles, and us leading, things together. And honestly, think there's even more partnerships I can do with people. And I think that's the thing. Like, I know that for me, I'm the personal brand. I think what Conscious Coop embodies is a personal brand that wants to spread love and healing. And if I have the right people that have the same mission, we combine our resources together, share the wealth with each other, and then spread the wealth with, our communities. Because you talk about community being sacred right now. I 100% agree. I think community will be the new currency in the world. I think once the currencies, adjust in our markets and stuff. I'm not saying anytime soon, but I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, I definitely think currencies will look way different than they do now from a monetary perspective. I think community is going to be very key. So making those partnerships where you offer like a resource or service, and then the other person offers a resource or service, and you complement each other, you will have more success. So, so like peak performance, trying to get there is really all about networking and connections right now for me, connecting with other solopreneurs, I guess, essentially, that have their own healing businesses and structures. And we utilize each other's branding and marketing strategies, which, I mean, branding and marketing is really kind of boiled down to your social media presence, in all honesty. Like, it's all about kind of posting, creating content, getting that out into the world, having them see you. And then also, I would say even word of mouth is even just as crucial or important. And that's why partnerships to me are key with other like solopreneurs, because, when someone gives you a good review from a business perspective, like a business venture, I think that's sometimes even more credible than a BBB rating, or one of those, like, or like a Trustpilot rating or whatever. I sometimes think like word of mouth is the best marketing, and you get that when you partner with other kind of business owners and create services or products together.
Yeah, you guys heard it here first. Community is the future of currency. I hope that that is a true prediction, because we started, back in the day in circles around campfires, healing and working together as communities, and we have lost touch with our roots, so to speak. And one of the ways today that's very practical for you business owners who are tuning in, you solopreneurs, you action takers, anybody who's got a cause you're trying to spread, this, I believe, is the year of partnership, which is also part of community. So find your non-competitive partners. What does that mean, Holly? That means you are serving the exact same type of ideal client or prospect in a totally different way that complements. Coop explained this briefly earlier. So for example, if I'm doing revenue and performance consulting and Coop is doing spiritual work, boom, great. I can send my clients who have some spiritual soul kind of things or shadow work that they need to work on and say, go work with Coop, get this out of your system so that we can start rocking and rolling with money. So that is what you talk. But the more you build these non-competitive partnerships and you're able to get referrals that are warm, everybody wins. And that's what we're trying to do, you guys, is create inspiration and healing in the world through our businesses and services. Amazing stuff. We're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about what everybody likes to talk about. Show me the money, revenue. All right. Coop, when have you left money on the table and what did you do to fix it?
Whew, that's a really good question. Oh man. That's like a brutally honest question, I think, with myself. I've left money on the table probably, man, I mean, there's many times I've definitely left money on the table just because of, like, for me, and we talked about this actually earlier today, this morning, with our like quarterly call. We talked about my budget and like making sure I'm investing in myself. That's where I think I miss out, and usually that, I think, looks like from kind of the outsourcing component of like utilizing like a VA or utilizing some sort of like marketer. some sort of like maybe educational group that I could have been a part of, or a collective group that I could have been a part of. And how I fixed it. How I fixed it, I think, has been, So do you want an exact example of how I left money on the table?
Yes, we like
Okay.
stories.
Fair. No, that's just a really good question, because I've definitely had multiple occasions. I would say I left money on the table by not going more all in on like putting more content on social media and trying to do like the UGC stuff where like the brand deals with social media. Because I have sponsorships for my podcast and those sorts of things, but I have a decent following on Instagram and TikTok. So I would say I left money on the table because I had opportunities to do some like affiliate marketing and like TikTok shop and like those sorts of things, but I never put myself out there. So I definitely think like I missed out on definitely some brand deals that could have been like, 4 figures a month, maybe even 5 figures a month if, you try to get more of them together. Right. So, I would say that's where I made my mistake. And it's more just like social media and like producing the time to do it, dedicated to it. Which, cause I work in corporate still, I still work in the corporate world, and I still kind of cling on to that job. So that's why I don't dedicate as much time probably to the social media aspects. So making up for it, I would say I think I make up for it by utilizing Jacob and our partnership in the collective group, because I don't have to make as much content anymore in the videos and those things. And Jacob actually has started making like social media videos for me and videos for the collective group. So we've actually been able to be able to get some more members and actually create, more revenue. And even though I sacrifice profit in a way, the thing is, I think I could get to 10K a month where I split 50-50 with Jake in a way, or whatever. I would rather get to 10K a month quicker with Jake and split that 50-50 than try to do it on my own. It takes me like years and years to do that.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I got all the money, but like I could have actually made 10K a month even quicker by working with Jake. So, yeah, I think that's where I've made up for it, is, like I said, the partnerships that I've created, and like outsourcing my work and still being able to bring in different, I guess not maybe cash flows, but like different profits, different business profits by utilizing other people's platforms and utilizing other people's like products and services.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a very, very typical experience. And as somebody who came from corporate and had to, put my parachute on and jump out of the airplane, so to speak, I took one last gig where I basically negotiated a 1.5 year contract. And I said, I can give you 20 hours a week. Full disclosure, I'm building my own company on the side. I'm not going to sign a non-compete, and got a job that replaced my corporate income working 20 hours a week so that I wouldn't burn myself out while I built my book of business. But yeah, it is a different bird to literally jump out of that plane and do your own thing. Totally different skill set. And we all make mistakes or leave money on the table. But it's also really important to balance that journey and not burn yourself out. Because if you do, you can't walk the talk of what you're trying to teach your people. And then you can't be a magnet or energetic pull for the right people who are meant to work with you. And you guys know from my fear method, the 4th step in the fear method that spells fear is reach out. It's a lot easier to face your fears and to conquer those mountains when you do it with other people instead of trying to go it alone. So stop the craziness, find your business partner, and start building your non-competitive partner community. All right, my last money question for you. What is the next shiny object that you would like to turn into a new revenue stream?
Oh man, I really really like. I like a lot of things. But I'm gonna get to that. My other quick thing that I just thought about, I left a money opportunity on the table with my second book, and it was a bestseller. But the thing was, the publisher took a lot of the revenue and the profit away. So like I didn't really make a lot of money. So I made up for it when I put Grand Rising Universe out there. I self-published it, and it actually wasn't even that hard because Ingram Spark is a great tool. I highly recommend book publishers to use that tool. And I'm pretty sure actually some publishers do use that tool. And I quadrupled my profit and sold the same amount of books basically. And I went to the publisher because I thought they were going to help me from a marketing standpoint. It definitely wasn't true. So I'm glad I made up for that loss to that gain. So quickly wanted to add that too. I think that's important for book writers. But the next shiny object. So I've been in quite a few different different industries, I should say, because I used to do cryptocurrency and NFTs, and I still am involved with those. But I do think the communities have made it off-putting for people to want to invest and like get into, and that's why I think mass adoption is facing that ceiling right now. It's just because these founders and project owners and those things, I think they're very tough to work with, and some credibility's been lost. But I would say my next big shiny object right now, I'm working on a food review app as a CMO, like a fractional type of equity holder, I should say. It's like I get an equity for my services, a sweat equity. And we're doing this food review app where we only list local restaurants. We won't put any chains on there, no franchises unless they're local franchises. And we're doing it so we can promote mom and pop shops and like locally owned business. And it's called Feedery. So Feedery's been in the works for about 2 years now. And we are almost going to launch in July, I believe, off the top of my head. And I've been working on, so like I said, I've been working on the planning for that for 2 years. And I really do think the industry needs a correction. I think a lot of the mainstream media, mainstream technology needs to be corrected from Silicon Valley. And I think the food review industry is very corrupt. There's a documentary called Billion Dollar Bully, and it's about Yelp and how they strong arm businesses to pay them more money for fabricated reviews. So Feedery wants to fight that. I think it's a great cause, and yeah, I think it's a huge untapped technology space. Just in terms of, I think decentralized social media is the next shiny object. So creating the next TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever, that is not controlled like by one figurehead. It's controlled by a group of people, and they incentivize you to post with some sort of rewards, like tokenized rewards, kind of like Candy Crush or I'm trying to think, just like other games and those sorts of things, and utilizing when cryptocurrency gets mass adopted and approved down the line eventually, because big money is in it. So when you think of like big mutual hedge funds getting into like the ETFs and stuff, mass adoption will probably come. So tokenizing those types of applications, I think, is the next shiny object.
Wow, that was a super nerdy shiny object, y'all. That was a very, very, very sexy shiny object, but nerdy. I'm going to break it down for people that are not in the tech space. Yes, cryptocurrency's been around for a very long time. I worked at Visa in the past, and we've been talking about things with blockchain and all the crypto things for decades. So that is coming. But also having personal experience from like rally.io and massive overpromising and failure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have a lot of work to do on credibility, trust, and support, and also not worrying about like, if you've seen Big Bang Theory, when they have the currency and like the laptop goes missing and they lose $1 million or something dollars. So there's a lot of work to do in that space, but I love this idea of decentralized social media and decentralized cryptocurrency. Very powerful. Definitely would fix a lot of things politically, a lot of things in the corporate world, a lot of resetting of expectations and connecting people. And oh man, we could talk for days about the politics of even Googles of the world, and God forbid say other things, because this might not ever be distributed anywhere. And you think I'm saying that paranoid? I'm being very serious. And decentralizing all the things so that we truly still have freedom of speech. But I am not going to continue on that bully pulpit because I'll get a little too passionate. I love that. Keep us posted on Feedery. That sounds amazing. You'll have to come back and give us an update sometime. We're going to wrap up though. Want to ask you, what is the best one piece of advice that you would offer others today?
So the one piece of advice I would probably say, just from my own experience, my own personal experience in business, in dating, friendships, life, don't let your ego get in the way of opening your heart to receive God's love, the universe's love, any higher power that you believe in, that love. And I say that because it's a little cryptic. So let me break it down real quick. Your ego is your brain processing. Your ego determines what's right and what's wrong in order to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable. That's why people go back to their old ways, because they're afraid of change. And they're afraid of what's going to happen because they don't know what's going to happen. And when you receive heartbreak, not even in dating, but when you lose a business, or you lose a lot of money, or you lose a friendship, you lose family, whatever it may be, your heart closes up a little bit, or like you have heartbreak. So then like when you start to go cold, your ego starts to get in the way, and then you close up opportunities ahead of you that are actually good for you, but you're so stuck in your ego trying to be comfortable because you're afraid of losing your heart space. And so, like I said, let your ego be tossed aside and keep your heart wide open and stay curious, because you never know what's going to come your way. Something beautiful might happen in your life.
Yeah, you guys, as somebody who has written about grief in the last year, experienced a lot of heartbreak. Let me tell you, I've been through a lot of breakups, and had a lot of deaths. I like to look at it as letting your heart break you open. It hurts, but if you don't allow love to come in, yeah, when you love, you can hurt more. That's the reality of being a human and being alive in this world. There's no guarantee to not have pain. There is a guarantee that you can choose if you're going to suffer. And I think you're living a half shell of a life if you're not opening your heart back up. So I feel like somebody needs to hear that today. So I wanted to just kind of layer in on that. All right. Last question for you. What is the legacy you want to leave behind?
The legacy that Coop wants to leave behind. The legacy that Coop wants to leave behind is, I mean, I've said this many times, and people have definitely been like, whoa, that's big. I want to heal 1 million souls. I want to heal 1 million people. That's the goal. And people are like, how do you measure that? Well, you can measure that in many different ways. But I think in turn, or just like the ultimate goal is for me to have mass healing groups where I can heal thousands of people at one time, and have that ability to do so, and heal, the vibration or frequency of a mass crowd. I think it's possible, because if you have people that go to music festivals and concerts by the thousands and can feel good or bad afterwards, I think I can do that from a healing circle or at a healing crowd. So, I mean, I think I've healed through raising, money for cancer organizations and those sorts of things. I definitely think I've healed like 10,000 people. But as I grow as a brand, and I grow in finances and can get more reach all at once, I think healing 1 million souls is definitely possible. So I just want people to see Coop as a guy who loved everyone unconditionally, loved himself unconditionally, and had the most zest for life out of anyone that's ever walked the earth, and was able to heal anyone with anything, no matter what.
All right. We're healing 1 million lives, y'all. Share the love, spread the love. If you resonated with this incredible interview, be sure to connect with Coop. I will have all of his media links, his website, all the things. Reach out to him, help him with healing 1 million lives. That's our call to action today. And with that, thank you so much, Coop, for sharing your love, your wisdom, your stories, your vulnerability today.
Well, thank you, Holly. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great things, and you're really helping people that don't have a big enough voice yet, but have a big enough heart. You're giving them that platform. So thank you, Holly.
Of course. Happy to do so. That's what we're all about. All right, to our listeners, I will see you on our next episode 100. Oh, pinching myself. So excited. See you guys soon.
Thank you for joining the show today. I hope you were inspired. More importantly, I hope you take action. If the show inspired you, I ask that you subscribe and share it with your network. Let's spread inspiration together today.